Yes!
Yes!
Ha! So we've got Tim Exile here in Sonic Towers.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
yeah,
Gaz.
amazing. Yeah. So Tim has brought the flow machine.
The flow machine.
Which is really exciting to see it. The fabled flow machine.
Fabled.
So, Tim, how would you describe yourself? A musician, a creator, a software creator, a sort of
Start off with a hard question. Yeah, well, I kind of all the above. I mean, I've gone through. I guess I kind of started out as a musician. Then through falling in love with electronic music, I got into the whole process behind it, and then through getting into the processes behind making electronic music, I then got into the technology behind how you make stuff to help the process of making electronic music.
Right.
And particularly from a performative angle, because but before all that, I played the violin. That was my first contact with music.
Okay.
And with violins, you stick your bow on the string, and when you're wiggling your body, it makes noise, and when you stop wiggling your body, it doesn't. And electronic music, well, kind of until the last sort of 5-10 years, has generally been the opposite of that. So I'm interested in body wiggling electronic music.
Okay,
basically.
brilliant.
Yeah.
So over the last, well, I guess getting on for 10 years, you've been releasing various pieces of software as well. The Finger, was that was the
first one, yeah.
Finger, and
Finger.
then followed by the Mouth.
The Mouth, yeah.
Then Flesh.
Then Flesh.
And then you've a bunch of ones under Tim Exile, under your own name.
Yes, yeah. So I started out with a couple of free ones last year. There was Slow, the reverb for sloths, which is like a reverb that just has loads more diffuser delays in it than you'd usually put in a reverb.
Okay.
And it is long. It's really long. And even the build up, at the slowest setting, it takes about a minute to actually, for the reverb to actually build up.
Okay.
It takes about 10 minutes for it to decay.
Nice.
So, I mean, it's long.
And that one's free, isn't it?
And that's free.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
that's free.
Okay.
And then there was Flows just before Christmas, which is actually, I guess that's kind of halfway between a sort of traditional record release and a tool you could use. So it's basically, so in the Flow machine, I've got an automatic recorder that just automatically records everything I do. So I've got days. I've got days of variable quality, generally low, with some high quality bits in there.
Okay.
So Flows is basically a retrospective of that, all put into this kind of Rompler virtual instrument thing that you could mess around with and combine stuff. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And then recently, early this year, the first paid-for product was Slew, Shed Load of Oscillators.
Shed Load of Oscillators, okay.
Which is a synth.
Right,
Yeah.
great. These new releases then, you need to have Reactor installed to run them.
Yeah, Reactor or Complete 11. So it's for Reactor 6, which you also get in Complete 11. So if you've got Complete 11, then you can also run them.
Okay, cool. So what's happened then over the years then? You've been building this interactive Reactor ensemble and then you
Behemoth.
A behemoth. And that's essentially what is behind the Flow machine.
Yeah, I mean, that basically is. Yeah.
And you call it the Flow machine because you can just flow with it. Is that the...
Yeah, well, actually, there's a funny story. I didn't actually come up with the name The Flow Machine. My friend Imogen Heap came up with the name The Flow Machine.
Okay.
Well, partly in conversation. Because I mean, I've toured with her a bit and worked with her quite a bit, and she wanted to talk about me and my instrument, and she said, "Tim, what do you call your instrument?" And I was just, I don't know. I mean, it's a kind of sort of the machine. There's the flow. Something about the flow station. Oh, so it's a flow machine. I was like, yeah, it's called the Flow Machine.
Right,
it's called
great.
the Flow Machine now. So it's just sort of, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, we can see essentially these are just like Behringer controllers, aren't they? And keyboard, and we've got an Ableton push, but you're not using that with Ableton. You're using that just as a MIDI controller.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm using it as a dumb controller. So all the lights you see here are Reactor decides what color the pads are going to be, and Reactor decides what it's going to do when you press the pads.
Okay, so. Yeah. So let's have a little demonstration then. So you can essentially just take certain elements and just manipulate them, and the different units here have different do they have specific roles?
Yeah, they have generally they have sort of clouds, roll clouds. So this is generally the looper, the loops and so on. So okay. I've got 8 loops. They just stack up from left to right. Or do they actually? No, I changed it so maybe they don't sometimes. But anyway, the loops stack up. So you go one loop, one loop, one loop, another loop, one loop, one loop, another loop, etc. And so it could take one of those. So you've got access to all the layers.
Another loop, another loop, another loop.
So I can take those and then like filter them, change the volume, stuff like that.
Another loop.
I can also route these through some effects with this button here. So let's say, let's put some reverb on it. So I've got some reverb on it, but then I can make a loop of that loop with the reverb on it. And I can change the length of it as well, and then I can put it through some different effects. So stutter it like that, and then loop that, and so on. So it keeps on going.
So I noticed that although there's you got some coloured stickers on there, but other than that, there's not a lot to tell you what's going on. So then this is like a lot of muscle memory. Then you really need to know what's what. Then it's not just randomly pressing things and having.
Yeah. Well, I guess this is one of these sort of freaks of nature that happens when you design and program and learn to play your own instrument, because you don't. I mean, when I was sitting there, I mean, it's now. I mean, the bulk of these mappings and so on, I programmed almost a decade ago now.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, getting on a decade.
Right.
So, when I was there, I was in front of my computer, just like furiously clicking around the mouse, going like, "Oh no, it's still not coming through." and then occasionally, like one in every 1,000 minutes, it would be a minute of victory and glory, and this works. But anyway, so in that process, you're thinking through everything so much, and you become so familiarized with it that you just don't need labels. And really, the only colors I use are for quick visual orientation. So I know it's not so I know that this button does this thing. It's just that, like, so these buttons. So for example, I mean, if I want a drum machine really quickly, I just reach out for this green one here. This turns all of these into a bunch of drum machines. I trigger off that, and then. Oh, where's that reverb? Is that reverb stuck on? So these are some weird drums. I don't know. Those are the worst drums I could have selected. How about some different drums?
I like them.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Those are drums. So the point is, I can get to them very, very quickly, and I can see there that these green ones. I know that green button there will turn this into a drum selector. Etc.
So really, then, it is like any musician, really, about practicing, and because you perform and have performed many times live with this.
Yeah.
Work,
Yeah.
So it is about learning your instrument, learning new chords and learning new riffs or something. It's just about learning new moves and new kind of.
Yeah, ideas. It is, and I think it's kind of more. I mean, in that way, it's very different from the violin, because the violin, like I wouldn't even remotely call myself a violinist now because I haven't practiced in years, and I would be dreadful if I picked it up. But this, I mean, nowadays I get so little opportunity with all the stuff that's going on. I get so little opportunity to play this. So the last time this came out of its box was about a month ago. But it's more like riding a bike.
Yeah.
So once I also coincidentally got my bike out of its box for the first time in about 6 months, and I just got straight on it and rode around in London confidently.
Okay.
Whereas if that was a violin, it'd be really ropey.
Yeah, okay, good point. So I guess the great thing with this, though, is as you've been developing it over the years, then if you've had ideas, I wish it could do this, then you make it do whatever you do. And
Sort of. Because there's another, once you get used to muscle memory, I mean, this is, because as we were talking about earlier, actually, I started off making, basically, I was making a new flow machine that chucked all this out and used just a Rolly Seaboard and a launch pad. And, it would have been a great instrument, but the problem was I just didn't have the muscle memory.
Put the time in to get the muscle memory.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And the thing is, once you've acquired all that muscle memory, you actually get quite locked in, because there are certain features that you don't want to break.
Yes.
I mean, this is exactly the same thing that, big software manufacturers, that's one of their biggest things that holds them back from doing new stuff.
Legacy.
Yeah, you've got to support the legacy stuff, and I find that just with me, I've got to support my habits.
Your own, right? Okay.
And then so I'm kind of working, with making new features. I'm working around all my habits.
So can we have a look at the underlying reactor ensemble then?
Yeah, it's made of spaghetti.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, it's such a weird. It's a bit like a city that's evolved over, over centuries.
Right.
You've got all these weird architecture on top of each other. You've got all these different building technologies.
Yeah. And you were saying to me before, you were saying that this really isn't a particularly tidy.
No, it's horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous.
Right. But you know your way around it.
Yeah, I mean, kind of.
Right.
Yes, I do. If there's something that I'm like, right, okay, I'm going to do this thing. This thing really needs to improve, or I really want to add this thing. Then I take the time to go back in and learn it. But it is it does feel a bit like looking at someone else's code,
right,
and understanding what.
So with the Native Instruments releases, like let's say the Mouth, for instance, then that's directly born out of your own building this, and then sort of hiving off little parts of it into a sort of standalone thing that essentially is a little bit of the way what you do. Yeah, it sort of opens that out for other people to sort of to utilise.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. I mean, so when I first finished this, I think it was about the end of 2008. Marta Gallic, the CTO of Native, is a good friend of mine. I sort of invited him around to the studio and was showing it, and he was just like, "Wow, I mean, why don't we make a product out of one of these bits?" So I was just like, "Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Yeah." And that became the Finger, which was the first release that was hived off from the Flow machine in 2009. Yeah, and then the Mouth in 2010. That was also all these obviously when they were turned into products. They got nice GUIs and graphic user interfaces, and we kind of improved, just put some nice little tweaks in. But the core idea was what I made for this. Right,
and again, and tried in the field as well, sort of.
Yeah.
So if like the sounds then are mostly made, you've got like drum samples then that you can access, but then a lot of what you actually make is stuff that can be just made like in totally in the moment then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, before we wrap up, first of all, thank you for coming in to show us this.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
And, we're going to get you in for some more to talk. There's more we want to know from you. So, there will be more. But just as a play out, how would it be feeding a signal into the Flow machine? Is that doable?
That's kind of what it's for, really.
So if I was to whip out a bass guitar,
do what?
if I was to just give you a little jack lead there,
yes,
would you be able to work with that?
Yes, I could work with your jack lead. Oh no! Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So all right, brilliant. So Tim, thanks ever so much for coming in, and
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Let's see what we can do.
Yeah. Brill. Gaz is getting his bass out.
Woohoo! Right then.
Okay. Yeah, give us a note or something, yeah.
Hey.
Nice. That's high five material. That is.